Our brand new Tesla Model Y long range with the third row has been way better than I expected. So should I cancel my Rivian R1S order?
Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Victor of Cars Jubilee, and I guess I never really told you guys. We have a deposit down for a Rivian R1S. We put the deposit down in September of 2022, so it's been almost a year. We were hoping to get a dual motor R1S, but based on current pricing, based on the federal tax credit guidelines, the R1S that we would get would be the dual motor standard pack. And with absolutely no options, no add-ons, that's the only version that would qualify for a federal tax credit, falling just below the $80,000 threshold. Now that specific car would cost $78,000. Since then, we actually bought this Tesla Model Y for about $53,000, and it has a third row option. And so it's got us thinking, is the R1S dual motor with the standard pack worth $25,000 more to us, to our family, than this Tesla Model Y? Let's get to it. All right, let's just do a quick side-by-side comparison. Both Model Y and R1S would have 7 seats. The Model Y is supposedly rated for 330 miles of range. The R1S with the dual motor standard pack is only rated for 260 miles of range. And then there's the difference in length. The Model Y is a much shorter car at 187 inches. The R1S is well over 200 inches long. It's a big car. The Model Y has a 75 kilowatt hour, roughly usable battery. R1S is a much bigger battery at 105 kilowatt hours, but it comes down to efficiency. And then lastly, the price. The Model Y with the third row seats was about $53,000. R1S is about $78,000. Now, your family's needs and wants out of a 3-row family SUV could be very, very different from mine. So for some of you, that dual motor standard pack R1S may actually be the better option. But for us, the Tesla Model Y is a better option, and I'm going to explain why. Number one is actually just the range. R1S, based on most of the reviews and testing that I've seen, at 70 miles per hour, the best efficiency you're going to get is about 2.4, 2.5 miles per kilowatt. And that breaks out nicely to about 250 to 260 miles of range. Pretty much right on the dot of what you're expecting to get. Now, for us, when we road trip, we're only going about 2 hours out, local driving, and then 2 hours back. And our usual average full trip distance is about 250. 260, 270 miles of range. And with this dual motor standard pack R1S, I'm just not sure we would be able to make it there and back without charging. In fact, most likely we wouldn't. But with the Model Y, well, I've done range tests with this Model Y, with a rental. I've also seen a lot of different range tests online, and pretty much across the board, if you're going 70 miles per hour in similar conditions as the R1S, you can get close to 4 miles per kilowatt. And that will get us close to 300 miles of range, which is perfect. That's exactly what we need, because it's more than that 260, 270 miles of expected traveling that we do on our average road trip. And from our location here on the East Coast, that 2 hours can get us to New York City, can get us to the beaches in New Jersey, Delaware, even a trip down to DC and back. So really, what I need is an EV with about 300 miles of range, because then I won't have to plan in a charging stop somewhere along the way. And then that takes us to charging, which is reason number 2 why we choose this Tesla Model Y. Having now owned an Ioniq 5 and a GV60, we've done over 200 Electrify America DC fast charging sessions, and that's because we purposely use the free charging plan, and I do pretty much all DC fast charging across the board. And over the course of 200 charge sessions, I feel like I've seen it all. I've seen half the chargers down at a station. I've seen all the chargers down at a station. I've seen all the chargers that are speed limited. I've seen sessions that just refuse to initiate, and I spend half an hour fiddling with different chargers trying to get them to work. I've also seen lines because, well, half the chargers are not working or they're power limited, and so no one's really able to get in and out quickly. And if that weren't bad enough, there's the Electrify America app, which is glitchy. Half the time it doesn't work, and the times it does work, it says, oh, all the stations are clear and available. And then I drive to the station and realize every single charger at the station is down, not operational. So I don't know what the heck was going on with the app, but everything it said was false. Let me give you a recent example. I pulled into a local Ford charger station. Now, according to the app, they were all available and operational.
This one doesn't work. Chatham on the other side. This one was only giving me 50 kilowatts, so I switched to this one. And this one only gave me 88 kilowatts and then shut off after 5 minutes. And the fourth one is finally working.
When I pulled in, I positioned the car, backed into charger number 1. And when I backed in and I saw the screen, oh, it said unavailable. So, okay, app was wrong, but I moved the car to spot number 2 so that I could charge at charger number 2. You know, I fiddled with it, plugged it in, waited for the charge to initiate, and once it did, it was just kind of hanging at 50 kilowatts. And that's really slow. This is a 150 kilowatt station that should be charging 3 times faster. And I didn't want to sit there for 3 times as long, so I unplugged and I moved my car again to the 3rd spot so I could charge at charger number 3. And I plugged that in, waited for it to initiate, and finally it ramped up. And now it was hanging at 90 kilowatts, which is better than 50, but still not 150. But anyways, at that point, like I said, I'd already moved spots 3 times, tried 3 different chargers, and I said, I'm just gonna hang out here and just let it charge. So I mind my own business on my phone, and then all of a sudden, the charge session ends for absolutely no reason. It stopped after about 10 minutes. And at that point, I thought, all right, I have to move to the 4th spot to charger number 4. So I moved my car, repositioned it, plugged it in, and what do you know? This was the best one. I got up to 140 kilowatts, which still isn't perfect because it was 80 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And at this temperature, I should see 150, 160. I've even seen up to 170 kilowatts. But hey, whatever, it's working. So then I charge, and essentially that charge session went from being a 20-minute charge session, and it took about an hour because I had to try all 4 different chargers. Now, luckily, it was empty when I got there. But what if it wasn't empty? What if someone was already parked at charger number 4? Well, then I would have been stuck with one of those non-working chargers, and that kind of would have been it.
Today's video is sponsored by Taptes. Taptes is an aftermarket wholesaler of Tesla accessories. They have pretty much every single thing you would want for your Tesla, so make sure to check out their website. This is Taptes' electrostatic glass roof shade for our Tesla Model Y. And one thing you'll notice along the perimeter is the fact that there are 0 clips. This thing essentially just sticks to the roof by itself. Now, if you have a traditional clip-in system, you'll notice a lot of those clips fail over time, and then your shade just starts sagging and eventually will collapse. But that won't be an issue with this one. I do want to point out that this thing is not perfect though. Like many of the clip-in systems, there could be a gap, but the good part about this is that it's fixable. For example, these little gaps here, if I wanted to, I could pull it down a little bit and then use the tool and kind of push this cover to the edge. And as you'll see, for the most part, my edges are nice and sealed, so I'm not really getting much light coming through. So that's the cool and neat part about this. And the problem is that you could spend actually a lot of time doing it then. It could be 10-15 minutes, but if you really want to spend your time and get every single corner, every single side perfect, well, it could take a lot longer. This is not one of those just pull it out, pop it on kind of things. You're not going to be taking it on or off all that frequently. For me, I probably will leave this on until it starts getting cooler and we want the actual sunlight coming in. The second accessory we're looking at today from Taptes would be their 7-seater floor mats. And that also includes the frunk and the trunk mats as well. They also sell a 5-seater version of it with the frunk and trunk mats as well, in case you need that. Anyways, as far as the mats themselves, they're made of XPE. XPE, in case you've never experienced it, is a very nice material. It's kind of soft, it's kind of cushiony, but it's got a lot of grip. Personally, I much prefer these over those harder, plasticky feeling WeatherTech liners. These, to me, just feel much better underfoot. Now, the mats themselves also have good raised edges, raised lips, and that really helps contain the mess. I would definitely consider these all-season mats. Whether you're in the rain, in the snow, in the dirt, it's going to capture pretty much everything. And that's really helpful, like I said, through all the seasons, and definitely very helpful for your trunk and your frunk for whatever you're going to put in there. If you're interested in the mats or the shade, I'll put the Amazon links in the video description below. I'll also link the Taptes Amazon storefront as well as their actual website in the video description below. Anyways, thank you Taptes for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. And that's why charging with this Tesla Model Y makes so much more sense, because I can avoid all that stuff that happens with Electrify America. With Tesla, literally I grab the connector, I put it in, and it charges. It starts to charge within 2 seconds of plugging in. I don't have to mess with the app. I don't have to wait for it to initiate. It literally just charges every single time. On top of that, I have access to the whole Tesla supercharger network, which along the East Coast is much more expansive. There's many more chargers, many more stations, and that means when I'm traveling, if for whatever reason I need to charge and let's say one of the stations is completely full, I can find another station that's still on the way that I can charge at. With Electrify America or a lot of the other DC fast charging networks, if that one station is full or non-operational, I don't have the option to find another one on the way. Typically the next one is going to be 20, 30, 40 miles out of the way. And at that point it makes charging just a huge headache on road trips. So yeah, between the range and the charging, those are the two primary reasons why I think this Tesla Model Y honestly is the perfect car for us right now. Alright, the other thing that we had to consider was actually the size of the car. Either the Tesla Model Y or the Rivian R1S would likely become my wife's daily driver once she starts going back to work. And the Model Y is 187 inches long. It's a pretty standard size. The R1S is 201 inches long. That's over 17 feet. That's huge for my wife who would just be daily commuting by herself. Now let's say we just said, okay, maybe we'll swap cars. Well, I daily drive in the city where I parallel park everywhere I go. And so a 17-foot long car in downtown, parallel parking just doesn't really make sense. But there's more, because we live in an old Philadelphia home built in the 1950s. And so between my garage motor and my garage floor, I only have about 76 inches of height. But the R1S is 77 inches tall. And so it actually wouldn't even fit in our garage. And that would make life a little more difficult, because we would plan to use the R1S as our primary family vehicle anywhere we go locally. And so that means if it's snowing or raining outside, we would have to load the kids outside when we have a perfectly good, dry, warm garage to use, but the car just won't fit. And then there's charging. Our charging station is inside the garage, and so I would have to leave the garage open to charge the R1S, which is not so ideal in the winter when it's cold or even at night. I just don't want to leave my garage open. This thing is only 64 inches tall, so we have plenty of clearance, and that means we can load and unload the kids in the garage. I can charge in the garage, no problems. And there's the price. It's a $25,000 price difference. I mean, sure, if I didn't have a price limit or a price budget and I could get a quad motor, extended range R1S, man, I would love that thing. That thing sounds amazing. But unfortunately, we are kind of capped, and so we can only get the standard pack. And at that point, I feel like it's making too many compromises to be worth an extra $25,000 over this Tesla Model Y. Is there anything else that can compete with this Tesla Model Y with the third row at this price point of just around $50,000? Well, there is the upcoming Kia EV9, but is it really going to get 300 miles of range with all-wheel drive? Now, we need all-wheel drive because we live in a very hilly area and we get snow. And then there's the fact that it's going to start probably at around $70,000. That's almost $20,000 more than the Tesla Model Y.
And there's the fact that it's stuck charging with Electrify America, and it's a first model year car. And in case you haven't watched our channel, we've had problems with our first model year Ioniq 5 and GV60. So I don't know if I'm quite ready to go down that road again. Well, there's also the Volvo EX90, but that thing starts at around $80,000. And I'm not sure it's really going to get 300 miles of range based on an all-wheel drive model. And again, we would still be stuck road tripping with the DC fast charging network of Electrify America. Also the ID Buzz, which is kind of quirky, but I believe it's using the ID4 battery pack and motors, and so I don't think it's going to get 300 miles of range. And actually, all three of those vehicles I just listed, they're not even currently available for sale, and who knows exactly when they'll release. And actually, the closest competitor is probably the EQB 300 4MATIC. Pricing wise, I think it would be about $65,000, so about $10,000–$15,000 more than the Model Y. So I guess there's still a bit of a price difference there. That version of the EQB would also only have a 0 to 60 time of about 7 seconds versus our Model Y, which is 4.8. So just the fun factor would be very different. And then there's the fact that it still has to use Electrify America for charging based on like a 250-mile range for that car. And so even though I say it's close, it's not really close. It just doesn't really match up with what we want compared to our Tesla Model Y. There are two other options out there, but they're much more expensive. There's the EQS SUV that starts at $100,000. There's also the Model X, which is around $100,000. So really, it feels like there's no cars available or no cars that match at this price point this Tesla Model Y with the third row. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comment section below. Is there a 3-row SUV for around $50,000 that has all-wheel drive, that has a range on the highway of about 300 miles, and can do 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds? Can you think of any? Anyways, that's kind of all the proof that I need. This Tesla Model Y currently is the best 3-row SUV for our family of 6, and it might be the best option for you as well. Well, that just about wraps up this video. As always, please check out our Amazon influencer store for a bunch of products that we have recently reviewed. Also, please check out Taptes storefront as well. And if you're looking into buying a Tesla, please consider using our referral link as well. This referral link works for demo drives as well as actual purchases. If you're looking at a Model Y, for example, currently this referral link will get you $500 off your purchase. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.